Alright, so why don't we do YouTube Experts Part 2? You're gonna like this one. Okay, so originally this video was supposed to be a subscriber showcase video. I'm still getting to your guys's, okay? I gotta edit some videos and stuff. But I've gotten some comments recently on a video I've done way back, middle of summer, right? On the 5 things most car guys might not know. It was a YouTube short. And in that video, I said carburetors, the size of your carburetor, has nothing to do with the amount of fuel that it flows. It's how much air it flows. Right. Pretty simple, right? I mean, they're measured in CFM. That's kind of the right. But come to find out, a lot of people have not fully accepted this to be fact and bombard me with comments after comments after comments, like this one that we're going to discuss. Now, before we get to his comment, let's just go over why I said what I said and why it's the way it is. Carburetors are measured in CFM, 650 CFM, 600 CFM, 850 CFM, 1050 CFM. CFM is a measurement of how much air is flowing through the carburetor. Now they do that at a constant vacuum, right? I don't know the exact vacuum they use. Each carburetor company does it just a little bit differently. And, 4-barrel carburetors are measured different than 2-barrel carburetors. But just know, like if you're flowing heads, what they do is they have a constant vacuum underneath the carburetor, and they measure how much air is flowing through the carburetor. How much air flows through is what the CFM rating is. Now, why do I say it has nothing to do with the fuel, but only the air? That's because the fuel itself, it's not fuel injected, right? The fuel is pulled out of the booster with vacuum from the engine, and the fuel is controlled through jets. Just take note, this is why I love my rubber line. Flexible line, don't have to mess with it, taking the fuel bowls on and off, that's key. Any hoozle, that's these jets right here. And these jets can be taken out and adjusted to, at whatever size they come with. This is on a Holly. Edelbrocks are a little different. Each carburetor is a little different. Some carburetors you can't adjust it, but for the carburetors we work with every day, yeah, this is pretty much standard. This is a 600 Holly, right? These will accept the same jets as those. And I can jet these carburetors to flow the exact same amount of fuel because the passages inside the actual main body themselves are the same size. So really, it would be absurd to measure the carburetor based on how much fuel it could flow because that's adjustable. I mean, like I said, I can make that 600 flow just as much as this 750 using the same jet size because everything else is the same. I mean, I could take these metering blocks and put them on that 600 if I wanted to, vice versa. It all matches up. The only thing that changes when changing size of carburetor is the actual venturis themselves, the size of the venturi and the throttle blades. The hole gets bigger or smaller, so airflow goes up or down. That's why carburetors are measured in CFM. The size of your carburetor has nothing to do with how much fuel it can flow. It's how much air it can flow. Now, there have been many people who have commented on that short clip, and I mean hundreds, okay? Literal hundreds, okay? That's the only reason I'm making this video. Literal hundreds. Anyways. But we're just going to use this guy because he's the newest. And basically, every single one of their comments are all the exact same amalgamation of the bigger the carburetor, the more air it flows, and the more air it flows, the more fuel it needs to maintain the same air-fuel ratio. So a carburetor's size also dictates how much fuel it will flow. No, no. You're missing the point. Now you're taking into an assumption that the carburetor, rated at whatever CFM rating it has, that's how much CFM it's moving when you put it on top of your engine. Different engines require different amounts of CFM. Big cubic inches require more CFM, small cubic inches, less CFM. More horsepower, more air, more fuel needed to be burned. Less horsepower, less air, less fuel. Your carburetor, although it's rated 750 CFM, does not mean it's flowing that much. So naturally, I proceed to tell this guy that. Well, this is his retort. Well, I knew that. But I'm going to use the exact same argument again and then proclaim it's ridiculous to downsize the amount of fuel on your 850 to match the 650's fuel. You sure you actually got that, bud? Because using the exact same argument for a second time and then proclaiming it's ridiculous to jet it down to a 650 size if it's an 850, that's not how that works. The engine dictates how much air and fuel it wants. The engine's not going to pull more air just because you give it the option if it can't take it. And if it's not pulling more air, again, it's not going to use more fuel. To keep the same air-fuel ratio as you say, if it's only pulling 600 CFM of air, you only need 600 CFM of air's worth of fuel to burn along with it, regardless of the size of the carburetor. Matter of fact, the only thing you're doing by increasing the size of the carburetor, if the engine doesn't want it, is slowing the velocity through the carburetor itself, which less velocity through the boosters means less fuel. So I explained that to him for a second time, and well, this is his response. Guy, it doesn't work like that. Just because you have a 750 up here doesn't mean it's flowing 750 CFM worth of air. That you are missing the point. Well, he has successfully used the exact same argument with me 3 times in a row now. So clearly logic is just kind of thrown out the window at this point with arguing with this guy. So I moved on to exaggeration. I figured maybe if we go to the extreme, then he'll kind of see, the extreme flaw in his thinking, and then he'll kind of understand. So here's what I said. I said, if you take a 1050 Dominator and you put it on a 170 slant 6, it's not going to flow 100 or 1050 CFM through that slant 6. You want to see his response? So yet again, the more air that goes through, the more fuel that has to go through with it to maintain the same air-fuel ratio. Successfully 4 times in a row, he has used the exact same argument without learning from the previous comments I've posted on the carburetor does not flow what you think it's flowing. So needless to say, the exaggeration didn't work either. Maybe I'm being too harsh on this guy, right? I mean, surely he's got a video explaining his point. Oh, no, it's 0 videos. Well, so much for that one. It's pretty much lost hope at this point, but I got one other trick to maybe try to, make this concept easy enough for even this guy to understand. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this exact conversation, but we're going to change it up a little. We're going to switch out the carburetor for another thing, okay? This unit of measurement thing can work with other things too. And maybe if we're not talking carburetors, it will start to sound so absurd that you get it, right? Oh, the epiphany happens, okay? So, let's do this. Let's change the word carburetor for pants. Let's begin. Pant size has nothing to do with the waist of the individual wearing them. Pants are measured by the waistband of the pants themselves. Doesn't have anything to do with the guy wearing them. Well, that's absurd. The size of the pants clearly shows the size of the guy wearing the pants, because in order to go up in pant size, you would have to go up in waist size. That's what I imagine he sounds like in real life, right? I'm going to skip all the rest of the conversation and go directly to the exaggeration point, because that's where the fun is. Now, let's just say, for instance, you had Fat Albert, right? And you took Fat Albert's pants. And you put Fat Albert's pants on Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone, now wearing Fat Albert's pants, does not mean Sylvester Stallone's waist size matches Fat Albert's. You see, just because he's wearing Fat Albert's pants does not mean he could use the extra room provided in said pants. Therefore, you cannot dictate that the pant size has anything to do with the person wearing them. The pant size only has to do with the size of the waistband on the pants. Does that make sense? And just like if you go too big a carburetor size, the velocity will slow down. Well, if you go too big on pants size, you ain't gonna be running any faster either. Oh god. So, needless to say, Sylvester Stallone is the engine in this scenario. The pants is the carburetor. Size of the pants is the size of the carburetor. The volume within the pants, the space in the pants, how much space there is, well, that's the CFM rating of the pants, or carburetor. And Sylvester Stallone's waist size dictates how much fuel it wants, right? Well, I hope you learned something from that one. I'll catch you next time.